Let's get him over to Jacoby for our usual first in football.
Started first in football, Marvin Harrison Jr. explained why he didn't participate in the Combine or the Pro Day. He said that he spoke with 9 teams that had high draft picks and said, do you want to see anything from me? And they said, no, we've seen enough.
Right.
Which is a great explanation. I'm glad that he said it. My question for you is, Craig, do you expect more top prospects to also not participate in these postseason?
Yeah, I do, and it's what we talked about a little bit yesterday, and that is Marvin Harrison's got nothing else to prove. For the last 2 years, he's been the best wide receiver in college, period, stop. So what's the point? Right? What's the point of going out there in a T-shirt and shorts and running 40 or 50 yards down the field with, against the air is what they call it. There's no defense out there, obviously. Now, unless you're out there to help a quarterback prospect that you're tight with or you're friends with because you want to do right by him, kind of like Caleb did for his guys at USC yesterday, I'm fine with this. There are some guys that do not need to go to a pro day and run in their T-shirt and shorts to make a team suddenly want to draft him. We got all the film we need on Marvin Harrison. I think, there's an old school reaction to it, kind of like the old man on his front lawn yelling and screaming. And the people that find this to be problematic, to me, is like the old man on the lawn. Who cares if Marvin Harrison goes to a pro day to run 30, 40-yard pass routes? Like, is that going to make you pick him? Because if that's what you need to know, that this kid is special, you're in the wrong business.
Correct.
Now, to be fair, there's not a lot of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s out there.
Exactly.
All right, there's a handful of kids every year that you know exactly who they are and what they are, and they don't need to jump through these hoops to be drafted, let's just say top 10, to be fair, right?
Yep.
But there's a lot of kids who are tweeners. Are you a third-round pick? Are you a second-round pick? Do I view you more as a safety than a middle linebacker? And I might not know until I see you up close and personal. I think for those kids, the pro day is very important because it gives those kids an opportunity to raise their draft stock. And yes, some kids are going to drop a little bit too. But it's not important for the upper echelon kid. I'll give you an example. I know we're going to get to Caleb here, if not this segment coming up in a little bit. I watched it yesterday. Dude uncorks a 70-yard bomb, right, and hits, I forget who the wide receiver was, like in the basket, in stride. Yeah. And we're like, oh, I told you, Caleb. Like, did I really learn anything about him?
No.
No. What I did take out of Caleb, and I saw, his interview with Colin Cowherd yesterday as well, is that this kid, when you meet him and talk to him, to me, defies what all the haters are saying about him. He's personable. He's a team-first guy. He wanted people to see his ability to kind of mess around a little bit and throw a ball, flick of a wrist 70 yards down the field. And he wanted his wide receivers to have a chance, to improve their draft stock. I came out of that going, that did not make me want to draft him anymore because I know the kid's a stud, but I like the kid more on a personal level, and I've never met him. So, again, 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks, do it. If you're Caleb Williams is not getting drafted by the Bears because of what he did yesterday.
I agree, and that's why you're spot on with Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, you turn on the tape, the guy's a 2-time All-American, 144 catches. On top of that, his bloodline. People forget his dad, right, who's a Hall of Fame in his right. But I like the fact, it's interesting for ball players to do have sons, and when your son is exceptional like Marvin Harrison Jr., the question is, do you, as a ball player, former ball player, do you have the blueprint to get your son there?
Yep.
And through this process, both him and his father have been fairly quiet. But his father came out yesterday and said, listen, man, I've told my son, you played 3 or 4 years of college football. Receivers in the NFL right now, they're doing one thing. They're resting. So we're going to get you to rest. There's no reason to come out here and do anything to hurt yourself, hurt a hamstring, because you're going to be in a camp.
Look, he's going to be the first wide receiver taken in this draft, whether he showed up to a pro day or not. And I like the fact that he came out and told the world, look, every team that might be in a position to draft me, I've spoken to all of them.
Yeah.
I've spoken to the GMs, the coaches, whatever it might be. So we're all good.
Yeah.
So leave the kid alone. Stop yelling on your front lawn in your bathrobe. Nobody wants to see it.
Bathtub at the front lawn?
What happened? Bathrobe. Sorry, bathrobe.
Right, moving on to our second and football. There are reports that there's mutual interest between Odell Beckham Jr. and the Dolphins. Interesting because they already have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in the receiver room. Do you think OBJ is a good fit in Miami?
I do, actually. I think that's what OBJ is now, a third wide receiver, not a number one or a number two. I think we still get enthralled with the name OBJ because of the spectacular catches and the start to that Super Bowl a couple years ago. But he is no longer a 1 or 2, and you saw that last year. Zay Flowers was the standout wide receiver for Baltimore, not Odell Beckham. And yeah, in the playoffs, he did have a couple big catches that moved the chains and whatnot. But I think it's a perfect spot, frankly, for Odell. And when you start thinking about other places that make sense, I'm not saying this because I'm a fan. The Jets now make sense for an Odell Beckham to be their third wide receiver. And he almost went to the Jets last year, which would have been a bad contract for the New York Jets. So a team like the Dolphins, and I can think of 3 or 4 other teams right now, top of my head, that would also make sense if he's willing to take a contract much different than last year's contract. Don't forget, last year he got $15 million guaranteed and a chance to earn an extra 3. All right? So there you see last year, he had 35 catches. That's not a $15 million a year guy.
No.
So if Odell Beckham's willing to take a couple of $1 million to be the third option, a team like Miami makes a lot of sense. And if you're Odell Beckham, at some point as you come to the very end of your career, being able to be in South Beach, not the worst idea either.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, they need stability in their wide receiver room. They lost Cedric Wilson Jr. He's off, but you still have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Warren. So you add OBJ, it's just another weapon for Tua. But I like it, man, because they need depth, and he adds it. And he's a veteran in locker.
I will say this, we talk about Hill and Waddle, that arguably the best 1-2 combination from a wide receiver standpoint in the NFL. But I'm starting to get myself concerned about Tyreek Hill, because there's a lot of smoke off the field with him. And there's always a little something going on with him. But it seems like the last 3-4 months have taken an ugly turn. And I would keep an eye on that. So if I'm the Dolphins, look, as he goes, my offense goes. But I might be in the market for some wide receiver depth, just in case Tyreek Hill goes off the deep end, which he's certainly capable of doing.
Wow. How embarrassing is it for the Giants that a 5-year-old daughter of Saquon Barkley knows that when you leave the Giants, it means you're going to win?
Yeah, well, listen, it was one thing when he put out the social media thing where the jersey changes from Giant Blue. And then the Giants kind of doubled down by saying, screw you, you went to Philly. We're going to give your jersey away to Singletary as quickly as we can. This is the Saquon going, I'm pissed at the New York Giants. And I'm going to take my little shots every chance I get. Which frankly is awesome. Because it's great that he goes to a division rival, because that just amps up the rivalry even more. The 2 times they play each other every year. But now that you're invoking the thoughts of an innocent 5-year-old child who now says, Daddy, does that mean we get to win now?
Right.
I mean, that's precious. Matter of fact, I wish we had the video of her saying it.
My favorite part, it's not like the interviewer was like, what does your daughter think about the move to the Eagles? That was not the question. He offered that up.
Yeah, but it's personal. He's pissed that the Giants let him walk out the door. He went to Philly for the money. No one else made that offer. It's just good for him that it's in the division, because he gets to kind of stab the Giants every chance he gets. But this is personal. And by the way, this is personal for the Giants as well. When the Giants make a point of giving his jersey out before it's barely off his body, the Giants are telling you it's personal. So him coming back around with the cuteness of a 5-year-old saying, Daddy, we get to win now?
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's a little protection for him, because who's going to criticize a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
You become the jackass.
Well, I'll tell you something else. I don't think it ever happened.
Oh,
you made it up?
I love this conspiracy
You don't
theory,
believe
Craig.
anything.
Look,
Conspiracy theory, Craig. I love this.
Saquon is doing this video on behest of the Eagles. They asked him to do it a day in the life, as you correctly introduced the video to, right? So he's pissed. He's upset that he did not spend his entire career with the Giants as he wanted. It's personal, and I totally respect that, and I love the vindictive nature of what he's doing. You can't argue against cuteness. You can't fight innocence of a 5-year-old girl who says to her, Daddy, can we win now? It's kind of like, if I may, the great scene in Rocky where Adrian's in bed in the coma, and they give birth to that Alaska-looking child, which never made sense to me, all right? Like she's in an igloo, that hairy bastard that came out of her, whatever it was. And Rocky comes over and she squeezes his hand.
Yep.
And she goes, hey, Rock, just do one thing for me. And she goes, win.
Yeah.
And then Mick goes, well, what are we waiting for?
And the music
Dun, dun,
comes,
dun, dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is Hollywood at its best. I love Saquon, and I'm still going to beat his ass on the golf course.
Oh, yeah, Craig.
That's right. We got the match coming up in a couple weeks.
Okay.
It's simulated golf, but it's golf.
same thing.
Yeah, it's still
Same
golf.
thing.
Anyhow, what else you got there, Jacoby? Anything?
You can feel the excitement coming from Mike Williams. He couldn't even think of the quarterback's name. He's like, Aaron?
That's somebody went partying after that Barkley game. That's what it is. Yeah.
Gotta be honest, kind of wish I didn't see that.
He hasn't slept since he stepped in New York. That's the problem.
Aaron?
He's like, where am I again?
I forgot his last name. Aaron's his name, right?
Yeah.
Mike, how excited are you to be a Jet?
He's like, no more sandwiches.
Now, if I may, if Mike Williams is keeping it real, we can go through that again. I'll play both roles. Hey, Mike, how excited are you to be a Jet? Did you see that contract?
Right. They know it was hurt last year, right?
No question.
You know I tore my ACL like 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. Probably won't be ready
Anyhow,
week 3.
Look, I don't pay him to be affable. I pay him to catch the football and score touchdowns and eat sandwiches, and that's all I care about. We got much more coming your way. There's my guy eating, and there's a big debate. Are we calling it pork roll? Are we calling it Taylor pork?
Taylor ham.
Taylor ham?
Taylor ham.
I'm just saying there's a big debate out there.
What do you call it?
I'm a Taylor ham
There
guy.
you go.
Taylor ham.
I'm a Taylor ham.
You're right.
But there are people out there that don't disrespect the pork roll. Just saying.
Yeah, what are they, from South Carolina?
Probably, yes. Sir. Some of them are from Mississippi, Willie. Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.